Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to This Week at Notarize, and this week we're in the office, which is super cool and kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We are in the office because we are filming for Rewired, our annual conference, which will be next week, April 7th. We are covering the topic of real estate, and with me today is the woman heading it all, Courtney Margossian. Hey, Court.
Hey, Andrew. What's going on?
Are you gonna play your little jingle?
I mean, it was supposed to be funny, but are you excited to go to Rewired?
I'm very excited.
Rewired. It's happening next week. And that's
That was beautiful. Court, so you love the shirt, by the way.
Thanks. I wonder why.
You came to Notarize with a very successful career in kind of in-person events and doing things at a really high level and a really large scale. What's it been like to pivot to doing things completely digital?
It's definitely been a journey. I remember when I was in Puerto Rico last year on March and realized what was going on with COVID and straight up was like, will I have a job? What will happen with events? The whole in-person culture of building and connecting and fostering relationships, that was the great thing of what events did as a fusion point. And now it's like, how are we going to turn this on our heads upside down and think about doing this virtually? It's already hard enough on these dating apps to get people to connect. How are we going to do this, let alone from a conference perspective? So I think the biggest takeaway was thinking of how can we still have that network and that networking opportunities and be able to have a climate that kind of fosters that. And we honestly had to be the ones to champion what we were doing from building hype on the event front. I mean, we had to be the creators of influence to get people to say, okay, I want to be a part of this. This is a totally new normal for all of us. So we all kind of got to get used to this and go along for the ride. And I think it's been really incredible to leverage events as a way to get people out from below the desk of the Zoom view, hence my sweatpants and blazer look today, because it's business on the top, cozies on the bottom, and get them out from behind that desk, feel like they have a voice and there is that level of connectivity, even though it is digital. So it's been a topsy-turvy world flipped on its head, but we're making it work.
Yeah, so November we did the first Rewired conference. This is going to be the first kind of vertical specific where we focus exclusively on real estate. But last November was the first time that any of us had done anything to that size and that scale. And
oh, yeah.
We got a lot of great feedback off of it. And I think one of the things that people appreciated was that we really emphasized kind of those elements of the conference that people go to conferences for, while also recognizing that like this is something that is free, it is something that is in the middle of their usual workday. Like we really had to incentivize why people would want to show up. What went into that thinking?
Absolutely. A lot, honestly, in 45 days, which was kind of crazy. But really thinking about if you or me were attending an event, what is the value that I'd want to have coming from an event? Definitely thinking about the personas who are attending. It's not a one-to-one. You have to build content. You have to build tracks that are catered towards your audiences. I think that is something that people fall down with when they're putting together their conference. They think it's about the hype and the glitz and the glam. And for us, it was really about the value add of the speakers, having really innovative content that's showing what we're doing to move the industry forward and how we're helping collaborate with people in the industry who are attending the conference. Like those are our partners and our customers who are attending. So we want to be able to leverage this as a roadmap kind of event that shows what we're doing, but how they're going to be a part of that. And I think that was the biggest takeaway of having this, where it's not the Notarize show. It's not the Notarize conference. This is a platform being leveraged to bring our customers together with us to learn from one another, to hear about what's going on in the industry and how what we're doing is moving us forward, but also things that we're working on where we know there's some industry roadblocks versus product roadblocks that we're going to be able to hear from for what that means and what that's going to look like. I think this new virtual and digital age and this new normal that we're all experiencing, it's a totally new wave of understanding. And the fact that I think we're transparent about that, especially through this conference as a platform, that was definitely something I know you and I took into account.
Yeah, for sure. When you think about what virtual events mean moving forward, right? So eventually we're going to get to a place where we get to go back to traditional conference formats. But I think that we have kind of captured the essence of like what we want to parlay into more regular events, whether it's like webinars or something bigger like what we're doing with Rewired for real estate. How has that changed your thinking about what can and can't be done in an online format for an event?
I think for an in-person event, there's a lot of guardrails, a lot of blockers. Just from the physical nature of it, you have to book a room, you have to book a venue, you have to have printed items to be able to say you're doing this ahead of time. You have to lock things in way ahead of time. But when it comes to a virtual event, you could record a conference, you could record a session ahead of time that night and then plug it into a platform and have people being able to enjoy that. Also, from an on-demand perspective, people will always have access to this content. So the longevity and the mileage that you can get on these digital assets and value out of this content that you're creating through these sessions and these talk tracks and bringing people together, I'm honestly like, hell yeah, virtual is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way less headaches, a lot more people can be a part of it. There's no limitation on the attendee front, and I think it allows people to connect with people who they normally wouldn't have been able to have a chance to connect with. There's a CEO or a decision maker, a C-suite executive at a conference, you're not going to feel comfortable probably walking up and talking to them. But if we give you a virtual room and an opportunity to have a fireside chat with them amongst others, that's a really great value add that we're able to do that has less intensities than that in-person one-to-one interaction. So for moving forward, I think our event model is going to stem with that in-person field style event. We're definitely going to have Rewired back in person next year, not this year, all virtual this year, keeping it safe. But taking the components that we've learned from this new digitized ecosystem and how that kind of frames out a really awesome partnership and level of connectivity, I think, across the board that you can have in ways that you wouldn't have in person. And I think for you, right, as the content manager, what are some of the things that you've learned from the content perspective and how you've seen the differences of how people are able to share more, I think, virtually?
Yeah, I think you hit on it with the on-demand, right? Like people, when you ask them to come to a physical conference, they kind of like block out a couple of days, right? They understand that from Tuesday to Thursday, I am in Washington, D.C., and I am participating in kind of everything that happens in D.C. at that time. But again, when you're asking people to come to an event that occurs in the middle of their workday, that they have to kind of navigate their daily responsibilities around, it's a totally different ask, right? And so I think, one, building content that is specific to the unique needs of those people in the moment, trying to lean into the opportunities, concerns, questions that they have in the job that they're doing for the rest of that day is a really easy way to engage. But I think on demand is super important too, because we're not trying to force our way into the day that they've already built for themselves. So, if you can't attend our keynote, you can come back at a time that's convenient for you. Maybe it's over the weekend, maybe it's a couple weeks later when, your plate isn't so full. Real estate, end of the month, like it's hard to break through those barriers, right? And so giving people the opportunity to still be part of the discussion, still engage with the content, still feel like they're involved in something or on the cutting edge of something, absolutely. I think is really, one, important. I think people really want to feel that. But two, I think that that's something that's easy for us to give and understand that like we want you to be part of this community. It's not just a one-day thing. It's a holistic thing we're trying to offer.
I totally agree. And the thing that I've loved about this new virtual normal on-demand side of events, it's really like, it's not just the Notarize conference. If any of our customers want to leverage this as an opportunity to educate their user base, their customer base on what they're doing with Ron in the industry, how they're working with us, how they're partnering with us, how they're building with us, they can leverage that platform as a stage to invite their clients to educate. It's a lot harder to do that in person. You have hotels, you're thinking about you have the flights, the hotel fees, the transportation. The list goes on of why people wouldn't want to attend a conference in person because of all those just in-person hurdles. But now people can really use this as just an open network in a way where they can bring their community in. And I think that's what I've really just loved about this new normal and how we've navigated it, is just seeing the community building. And an event is not just hosted for Notarize. It's really, truly a collaborative, momentous moment.
Yeah, and rising tides lift all ships, right? Like if we can give our partners the opportunity to...
Even your sayings, I love it.
I know. So, Rewired for Real Estate, next week, Wednesday, April 7th. It's going to be from around 10 Eastern to 3 Eastern. Court, would you like to give it a plug?
Absolutely. Honestly, when I came to Notarize in 2019, I had hosted about 9 conferences globally before bringing Rewired to Notarize, which was an incredible it's been an incredible journey seeing what it came to when we started in 2019 when RON was passed in Florida. We had boots on the ground. We had a conference to educate what RON is, what this meant to the state. And now it's really evolved into showing how we're rewiring industries and what we're doing to build this trust on demand and what that means for the industries that we're serving, as well as the customers who are partnering with us and how we serve them. So I just think this conference continues to evolve in the value. It's not all about the glitz and the glam. We don't have these famous keynote speakers, but we have real thought leadership, executive, industry change leaders, trailblazers who are speaking and sharing their stories and giving insight into that. So I'm truly excited to see how the value of the conference has evolved. And it's not about the quantity. It's really about the quality, which is what we really harness, I think, for Rewired. So the plug, honestly, I think right now is the attendee number that we got 700 registrants yesterday, which is pretty insane. So we're at 2,000 registrants currently. We just passed that mark before I came on the show. I checked that. We were at 1.9K. And I'm just ecstatic to see that these numbers, this many people have decided they want to tune in. And the great thing is I think people realize if they can't make it, to your point, they're going to get access to this. We're going to continue to have this conversation after Rewired, so just be a part of it. And so I'm really excited to see the responses and the conversations that we're going to have on site. And I think people are going to have a really great time and learn a lot and see where we're going as well.
Yeah. So join us Wednesday, April 7th. You can get your free ticket at notarize.com/rewired.
Rewired.
Court, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, always great chatting. Good seeing you in the office.
I know, seriously. But we can't get
6
any
feet.
closer. 6 feet.
Okay.